Hey everyone, Ryan here at etrailer. Today on our 2022 Ford Edge Titanium, we're going to be showing you how to install the Curt custom fit vehicle wiring harness. Before we do that though, let's take a minute, check this out, and make sure it's going to work for you. So we actually have this kit on our vehicle right now, and right off the bat, what it's going to do is provide us with a 4-way flat trailer connector. So if the wiring on your trailer looks something like this, what it's going to allow you to do is plug the trailer wiring in and get all those lighting signals sent back. So this is going to provide our trailer with the tail lights, turn signals, as well as the brake lights. Probably one of the best things about this kit is that it is specifically designed to work with the Titanium submodel. So it's going to give you the confidence knowing it'll plug in. You're not going to have to chop into your vehicle's factory wiring or anything along those lines. If you happen to have a different submodel, not to worry. There's other kits available that are designed to work with those as well. So should be in good shape regardless on what you got. And as far as actually mounting up our 4-way flat connector, got a couple of different choices. You could set it up like we have here today, where I just used what's called a no drill long bracket. I got it clamped to our hitch. I put a little bend in it and then attached a 4-way flat bracket to it. Pushed our connector through, and that way it's pretty much permanently mounted here, easy to get to. Or what I've done in the past, and seems to work out just fine, especially on the edge, is just drop that connector down and use the dust cover to attach it to the safety chain opening to keep it secure that way. Other than that, at the end of the day, not a whole lot to it. You know, it's a nice kit, and it's going to be a great way to keep you safe and legal whenever you're towing your trailer behind your edge. As far as the installation goes, it's not really that it's complicated per se, but it's definitely time consuming. The edge is pretty tight to work in, just underneath and everything. And you are going to have to run a power wire from the back all the way up to the front. But hopefully I can give you a couple pointers along the way and speed things up for you and make it a little bit easier. So feel free to hang around. We'll go ahead and get started on it now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here at the back of our edge, and you can open up the hatch. That way we can get access to the fasteners holding in our taillights. There's going to be a small plastic cover that we can pry out. So just come in from the bottom and pop it out. And inside of there's going to be a fastener. It looks like you can either use a flathead screwdriver or a T25 Torx bit and pull that out. We're able to get the tail light out now, and with these there's an alignment pin in here that's holding this in place still. Sometimes they can be real tight, and with these Ford edges too, it's not uncommon for this piece back here to crack, so be really careful. You know, don't try to pry up on this corner piece or anything. But a lot of times what you can do is work it back and forth a little bit while you're pulling it towards the back. Then it'll release. So that was the pin that was keeping it in place. And we'll disconnect it. So there's a tab here, which I'll just undo so you can actually see. There's this tab. When you're pushing down on that, you can pull up on the connector to separate it. We'll set our light off to the side and do the same thing to get the passenger one removed. We're going to partially unsnap this piece of our fascia here to give us some more room to work. There's just these little tabs holding it in place. A lot of times you can just pull them up by hand to release them. Like that. And then it's going to be really difficult to see, but about right here in this area behind it, there's going to be a plastic push pin type fastener, and we want to take a tool like this or a flathead screwdriver, kind of get behind there and pry that free. Here's a better look at that plastic fastener, and so I just simply kind of came in behind it, carefully pry it out to release it. Where our tail light was plugged into that connector, that's also attached to a piece of plastic with a little push pin fastener. So to give us more room, I'm going to come in here at my trim tool or your flathead, just pry it free, that way we have a little more room to work. How we're going to get our wiring up into these areas is by using a technique called a fish wire or a pull wire. And that's exactly what this is here. I'm just using a piece of tubing. It works out really good. You can also use a thick piece of wire maybe, or a metal coat hanger if you straighten it out. But if you'd rather use this, you can always grab it here at etrailer. I'd say probably at least 6 foot be sufficient. What I'm going to do though is just kind of peel this little piece back and push it down towards the underside of our vehicle. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing over on the passenger side. Underneath of our vehicle, our wires that we drop down should be behind or on top of these panels here. So we'll get these removed, give us a lot more room to work and see what's going on. We'll have 2 fasteners up here. Just use a 10mm socket to pull those nuts off. And then on the edge here, there's 2 5.5mm head screws. I know that's kind of an odd size, so if you don't have that size socket, they're in there pretty loose. You could always grab a pair of pliers or something and remove them that way. Just be careful not to tear them up, but get them pulled out. Drop our panel down and do the same thing for the passenger side. That panel out of the way, was able to get access to our fish wire here. And then I took our trailer wiring and I took the T connector end that has the brown, yellow, and red wire and taped it to the pull wire. And you want to tape it real tight because I don't have a ton of room in here to work with. So make it as small as possible. And what we can do now is go back up top and get it pulled into position. Top, if we pull our fish wire through, should be able to get this up into position here. And I'm trying to get it through the little pocket. There we go. And with it up here, I'll get all this tape out of the way. The tape off, we can get this plugged in. So the factory connector, since we popped it free, it's kind of tricky to get to and keep it steady so you can plug this in. So I just got a pair of needle nose pliers. I'm holding the little plastic fastener just to keep it steady. One end of our trailer wiring will match up with the factory connector, like that. And we can grab our tail light, plug that in, and get it reinstalled the opposite way that we removed it. Back underneath the vehicle, we can start to route some of our wiring. So you'll have your single green T-connector wire and your 4-way flat wire. I just have all this loosely routed now. At the very end, I'll come back, zip tie it all up and secure it. And when you're routing wiring, in general, you want to do your best to avoid any hot or moving parts or sharp parts, anything like that. I took the wires, pushed them through the bumper beam. Our 4-way flat drops right down here where I have it attached to a bracket. If you're not going to use a bracket, you can always just attach it to the safety chain opening on your hitch. The green wire though just continues along there. all the way across. And what I did, we dropped that pull wire down. I did the same thing that we did on the driver's side, connected it to it and pulled it up into position. Back up top on the passenger side, plugged everything in the same exact way that we did the driver's side. And with everything hooked on up, we'll reinstall our taillight here. At this point, we can secure our box here, and I'm just going to use this two-sided sticky tape that they give you. Make sure that this is clean and dry, so I sprayed it down with some rubbing alcohol, wipe it down, do the same thing to the surface that you're going to put it on. But I'll go ahead and get this secured and then show you where we ended up putting it. Here's where I secured our box using that tape, and just for good measure, there's a hole already in this little flange. I just ran a zip tie through there as well. As far as this white wire goes with the pre-attached ring terminal, that's going to be a ground, and I'm going to attach it right here to this piece of metal using the provided self-tapping screw. We're going to have one more wire coming out of the box. It's this black one. This is going to be the power wire, and the end's already stripped back, so you just want to take the wire, twist it tight, then crimp on a butt connector. I've decided to upgrade to a heat shrink style butt connector because the ends seal up and provide a little extra protection against corrosion, but ones that come in the kit will work fine. Just tape them up real good once you make the connection. And this is how all the connections are going to be made, whether it's a ring terminal, butt connector, whatever the case may be. But slide it over the bare end of the wire and crimp it down. And you're going to have a big bundle of power wire that comes with the kit. You can take one end of it and strip it back, about like that. Twist the wire. That'll go into the other end of that butt connector. Crimp it down. And since I'm using these heat shrinks, I'll come back with my heat gun and seal up the ends. At this point, I reinstalled our underbody panels the opposite way that we removed them. And that power wire, here it is, this needs to get routed up into the engine compartment. That way we can hook it up to the battery. So what I did was just run it on the top of our subframe. And here's where it comes down. Just have it running along through here, kind of on the side of our tank. Along through here. And then if you have a panel right here, there's just a couple of fasteners, 7mm head, 10mm head. You can pull down if you want, make it easier to see. But then I just followed our factory brake lines here all the way up, using your zip ties every now and again to secure it. And it goes up into the engine compartment. And the way I was able to get the wiring up there was just like what we did with our taillight wiring. I took that pull wire, dropped it down from the top, taped or power wired it, and pulled it up into place. Here in the engine compartment, this is where our power wire came up, and I cut it to length and then used a butt connector to connect the included fuse holder. On the other end of the fuse holder, crimped on the ring terminal that they give you, and make sure that the fuse is not installed just yet. But this ring terminal is going to go over this post here, a 10mm socket, We'll remove this nut. Put the ring terminal over the stud. We'll get the nut tightened back down. And at this point, you can grab the included fuse and push it into the holder. With everything hooked up now, it's a good idea to test the wiring to make sure that it's working properly. I like to use a tester like this as opposed to just hooking up to a trailer. And I say that because if your trailer has any issues, it might mislead you. I think it's something you did on the vehicle side. But we'll go ahead, turn on our taillights. We'll hit our brakes. We can try out our left turn signal and our right turn signal. Now that we verified our wiring works, we're in good shape and ready to hook up to our trailer. But with that said, that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Curt custom fit trailer wiring harness on our 2022 Ford Edge Titanium.